Paintingu, paintingu, paintingu. Paintingu, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo. Paintingu, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo, goo goo. Paintingu, goo goo. Paintingu. 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 Sip, sip. That's it, Myro. Press in! Oh. Painting goo. 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 Paint, paint. Painting goo. 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 Goo, 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 goo. Painting goo goo. Oh, goo, 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 goo. A rant, paint, rant, sip. Oh, fuck. Painting goo. Painting goo. Oh. Painting goo. Goo, 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 goo. Paintingu, goo 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 goo. Paintingu, painting you. Paintingu, painting me, paintingu. Do, 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 do. That's it, Myro. You mischievous monkey. As the people fire in. Shit. Female! Get me my tiny black mirror device. Hand me my tiny black mirror device, woman! Keep the people busy, Myro. I have forgotten my connection to the ether realm. Yeah. Ooh la la. Ooh rah rah. Paintingu. It's time for some lounge music on Paintingu. 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 I must knock loose the rusty chi from my rungs. Paintingu. 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 Take out those keys, you filthy monkey! Remind the brithering, bothersome mortals what beauty is. Paintingu. Paintingu. as my mischievous monkey, made from the hands of the female, from Cray, tickles the keys. Perhaps if you have any honor, you will realize that you must put a tip in the monkey's bowl. Why? Because if you don't, he might not be here tomorrow. I don't feed him. I don't crow them. I barely accommodate him. You better strap those keys, Myra, because you're literally praying for your dinner. Bring it home, Myra. Cast a beautiful spell! A musical spell on the people! That's it, Myro. Bring it home! Oh? Did you... Myro! Did you fuck it up? That sounded... like the monkey fucked up. Was it just me? Or did that mischievous little shit just tickle the wrong keys? I will deal with you later, you mischievous little shit. Come to me. Here on PEINTEINGU, I have no room for mistaku. Myro, the mischievous monkey, shall be frogged for his insolence. Today on PEINTEINGU was a no day to fuck up, Myro. And he did indeed. I heard it with my own ears. He procked the wrong keys on that piano. That filthy monkey, how dare he? Perhaps I should feed him to Garros. Don't look at me like that, you big kitten. You've eaten monkey before. Don't deny it! Looking at me like that. Like you haven't eaten chimps. You lying feline. How dare you? This is beyond the pale. Lying. To Defenderu, demigod of PEINTEINGU. Rive on PEINTEINGU. Garros, how could you? To attempt to deceive me. Have we not become close, Brother Garros? Do we not dance with demons? Attempt to... What is this? Chocolate! Now I'm hungry.
Flowerbomb Tiger Lily, the new wild fragrance by Victor and Law.
What fragrance, you say? You wanted to smell like animal? Typical female. Filthy human female want to smell like animal. Dirty. A wild fragrance, she says. Allow me to show you a wild fragrance. Behold, my brother Garros, who reminds you all filthy mortals to like and subscribe to PEINTEINGU. If you have any honor, you will like and subscribe to PEINTEINGU. You will pay for PEINTEINGU. Why? Otherwise, I will fling my 865-pound brother Garros at you. You want not to know what lies behind his aluminium bucket and sunglasses. It is terrifying to behold. Now, paint! As I descend, paint! Into proper PEINTEINGU posture. Paint! And we gather our chi for today's PEINTEINGU. Pardon me. My top Natu has become so glorious, it is now out of frame. This is not good. My multi-tiered antenna Natu is now so large. My top Natu is so big. It's now out of frame. This is not acceptable. A moment. Paint! Perhaps excellent. If Brother Dick Fordew thought my top Natu was of a tropical quality yesterday, wait till he sees this shitu. Look at it in all its froppy glory. It is completely understandable how it keeps the Oni at bay. For those of you who did not know, my top Natu serves many purposes. It is not only my divine connection to the realm of heaven. It is indeed often used to fend off demons in a most beautiful fashion. They cannot take the top Natu. It is simply beyond their capabilities. A cleansing ding of Tobias's dung to allow our chi to flow freely as we dance with the demons. Ah, glorious. Indeed, the dinging of the dung brings me much clarity and allows me to paintingu with focus and purpose. Today, we return yet again to the island of Vincent to engage in what is now known as the Great Vincent's Kake event. Behold, a cake, a kaiju cake, defending the bride and groomer from a mischievous, titanic, gargantuan Giga Mouse, wielding an M60-ish, M40-ish M42 saw thing, and is covered in bring. He has a thing and he's covered in bring. And we are soon to paint a bullet between his teeth. Paint. Ah, my shoulders must relax. Paint! In order to allow my chi to flow freely. I have a ritual here on Paintingu. Paint! I place my royal rag upon my demi-divine knee. For those of you who do not know why my rag is royal, it's because it's purple, you fool. Paint! Any mortal worth his salt will know that purple is divine. So why is my kimono blue? Because I, unfortunately, have been banished from Chinese heaven, not Japanese heaven. I'm still welcome in those horrors. But, as a result, I have been relegated to Earth Realm and to demigod status. So, no purple. Only brew. Only brew suits my half-Irish side very much. You have been banished. You cannot only use brew. Ah, excellent. I tend to make my own brew. If you know what I mean. Ah, honey in your coffee, glorious. If you do not like and share and subscribe, you have no honor. This is indeed correct. Some crap for Myro the Mob Key. Mob Key. That's an excellent typo. I think it would be funny if there was a shepherd's crook that came in from the side to pull Myro away from the piano if he hams it up too much. Indeed. It would have been a lot funnier than my fingers pulling him off the chair anyway. I read your comment while I was going on my rant and I was like, that's actually hilarious. I should pull him off. I should pull him off at the end, like. You're gonna pull a monkey off live on YouTube? Phrasing? How dare you? Painting, goo goo goo, goo goo. Right, where's my bitches? Let's get them wet. I present my new roster. I now have a tall, skinny bitch to go with my short, fat bitches. Right. We finish the boom box for this Giga Mouse and then put a bullet between his teeth. A monkey subjected to frogging until the point of croaking. Scandalous. I'm not gonna frog him till he dies, but I will frog him. Swear away the Oni with the harrowed top knot. It would actually be so fucking funny if that, like... It's like being attacked by demons and you're just like, whoa! like a martial art, like, totally centered around headbutts and fucking, like a really limited form of Lethway or something. Like, you literally only throw loafs. Oh, God. Right, let's road this parrot. And begin the goo. There's a lot of noise outside you. Okay. How is the goo? Is the goo hardened? The goo looks very hardened. Oh shit. Yes. Most of the goo is no longer useful. It has become chalk instead of goo. Some things are so hard to say in Japu. Chalk. Hand me the chalk there! What the fuck? Shark. Like a cross between a cheetah and a shark. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Like a... Could you imagine a bright yellow with black spots? Shark. Like something the size of a great white. Big, intimidating, horrible, like, teeth, fucking black eyes. Black, dead eyes. Bright yellow with black spots and all, like. I should paint that, it'd be hilarious. Where could I put that? I think I could put it down the bottom, or I could put it here. I still need to put kayaks in. And I still think it'd be hilarious if I did, like... Oh, blessing me! Glorious Gipple. I think it'd be hilarious if I did loads of little mice in kayaks or something. Could have one of the mice saying something along the lines of, "Ah, I see brother GigaChad has crashed another wedding." Glorious. Oh, grand. I did some like preemptive work on the blue tube that usually gives me some trouble when I'm opening it. Like, I've bitched about it before on stream, only recently as well. And fuck me, like chipping fucking concrete off the fucking thing, like, just so it'll open properly. Okay. We have a blue, we have a red, we have a green, we have a yellow, we have a black, and we have a white. But is the white stir gooey? That is the question. Is it gooey? That is the question. That's still a bit, not quite. It's not quite white. It's Asian. Saying cork in Japu accent must be equally... Cork! It just sounds like you're saying cork. I say, sir, that is some fine cork. You have to just... Oh my god. Okay. This boombox. Paint, paint! It's about to get some details. Paint, paint! I love my froppy top knot. It is hilarious. Paint! Well, I also think it must be because I reframed everything again just to try and get like the painting looking a bit brighter or bigger. Like, it's actually a pain in the hole. It's driving me mad. Like, I keep looking back on old streams and being like, how can I make it better? How can I make it look brighter and tighter and neater and fucking all these things? Like, it's a fucking pain in the ring. It is. Like, ultimately, it is just like buying better equipment eventually. Like, you know. But the fact that my top knot no longer fits in frame is fucking hilarious to me. I think it's time for a chop knot too. I think it's time to chop the knot too. Because it's also hilarious when I just have a little bit of fucking, like a little fuzzy thing sticking out at the top. Like a tiny teardrop of hair. And then you like slowly over, like I think 3 months ago, it was like kind of like this or something, like, do you know what I mean? Or like this. Because it was, when I was uploading to Rumble earlier on, I'd like download the old ones and put them up on Rumble and shit, like, and it's like from 3 or 4 months ago. You can like gradually see my top knot getting like, it's like just growing slowly out of my head like a fucking, like a palm tree. Like, it's fucking hilarious. Oh god. Right. Painting. We didn't have a boombox, but my ma had this big black and red stereo. That like it was pretty much a boombox. It was a big fucking radio that you could like, you know, walk around with and shit. But I think it was a plug-in thing, but it was like semi-portable. Played cassettes and stuff. I remember thinking it was just like, it was cool looking, the way it was like just jet black but with like red trim. It was a cool looking thing. And the speakers weren't like, it was a cylinder, it wasn't like a box. It was like a big cylinder. And on either end of the thing was a speaker, instead of like 2 of the speakers being on the front of it, either end. It's either end of the cylinder. With a big speaker on it, like. I think, I remember the sound of it being pretty intense. I only ever like actually turned the thing on a few times. It used to just sit there in the corner of the kitchen. That's one thing I like, if I'd say so, like I'm pretty sure me and the female are gonna get around to having children. Especially when I start bringing in more resources. But I don't really have any, like, I said this before in the stream fairly recently, like, I thought, like, my family home got sold there recently, like, and I never took anything, like, I always just took myself and what I needed at the time, like, I've never been very sentimental, but I'm, like, nostalgic, maybe? I don't know, like, it's like, I'm not necessarily attached to them, but, like, I feel the disconnect, but I'm not, like, I don't have a longing or I'm just like, oh, that's a shame, you know? I would prefer things to be better, and that's where I'm going with this, is like, I want my kids to, if I do have kids or whatever, I want my kids to have stuff that's like, or my grandkids, like, you know, like, I want there to be, like, you know, your grandfather Alex painted that, like, paint! While wearing a kimono and headband on the internet. Iron Man Maru, welcome to Paintingu. Paint! Part of me wants to know what Boot Boy Defender looks like. What Nazi I look like? Oh man, I probably look like loads of Nazis. Was there loads of ginger Nazis? Was that a thing? Was there a lot of ginger Nazis? I thought they were all, like, you know, supposed to be, typically anyway, like, you know, because weren't loads of Jews ginger? You know? Paint! I was watching Chris Gardner. He was on YouTube there talking to some dude. Can't remember the lad's name. I'll get it up on my phone there. I'll share it in the Paintingu Telegram. If you don't follow Biocharisma, if you don't follow Chris Gardner, man, you're missing out. Like, some intense gravy. Oh god. A glorious Gepu. Understanding Conspiracy on YouTube. Some cool shit, like a lot of the stuff I've heard before, but part of me wants to get this lad's book and read it. He's talking about that, like, you know, like fucking for years he did hallucinogenic drugs, and then he ends up, like, you know, submitting to Jesus. And the one thing that I keep hearing is that even if you don't believe in, like, the Abrahamic God and, like, you know, Jesus in that sense, and like, essentially if you're not a Christian, like, you know, or a Catholic, or one of the major ones, like that whole thing of, like, there's no atheists in foxholes. It's like people who like, you know, anyone who comes in contact generally with these entities, whether through meditation or drug-induced hallucinations or trips or whatever you want to call them, the malevolent deceitful ones, you know, like, you could class it like the evil ones, who want nothing but, like, to, like, do all sorts of horrible shit to you or through you. They don't like Jesus. They really don't like it when you use that lad's name. So, like, there's definitely something to it, according to, like, all the people who've, like, you know, had mad experiences and shit. They're all like, yeah, I mean, the second I mentioned Jesus' name, they, like, it's like watching fucking you know, rats scurry or some shit. Like, I you know, makes sense, you know, if you've watched and heard a lot of the, like, you know, Gnostic shit that I've heard, and Jesus being the demiurge and all this stuff. It's like, there's so many, like, it's a fascinating rabbit hole to go down of, like, is it metaphor? Is it just metaphor? Is it just allegory? Or was it, like, manipulated in such a way that it's actually both, where, like, there's historical characters and events that, like, did actually happen? Like, I'm of the mind that, I suppose you could call it a belief at this stage, that, like, I think a lot of the biblical stuff, like, did happen. You know, instead of lions and tigers and bears, oh my, it's like giants, demons and angels, oh my. You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Like, fucking, I think that is totally real, like. And I think that's why stuff like the Antarctic Treaty exists. I think we're locked in I think we're limited. And I think there is a, like, argument that's for our own good, you know. I think I get this feeling that, like, ultimately the mature, informed man would probably come to the conclusion that what up-and-coming truthers or conspiracy theorists or a lot of people would consider this to be a prison or a trap or a test or a this or a that. Like, it probably is a test, but it's probably for our own good. I don't necessarily think this place is, like, definitely not the place itself. The realm itself is a tool. I think the realm is a tool. A tool comprised of many tools. I think the realm is a the realm we live in my opinion, is a collection, a multitude of material assets that all have a function and a purpose, you know. And I think there's some heavy gravy in the I think there's some really heavy gravy in the the landscapes being petrified, dead, rotted, you know, fossilized, even whatever, bodies of old giant entities. When you look at some of the like satellite photos and the topography images of like, you know, huge mountain ranges and these huge trees or these things that look like tree stumps or whatever, like, I think a lot of it really just makes sense. Like, and for anyone who's ever, like, you know, if you're into anime or whatever, like the stuff like Attack on Titan and shit like that, and there's like a lot of these like, you know, movies and stories and all, like, and it's all presented to you as like, oh yeah, this is all just like fantasy, you know. But when you look at like the biblical stories, and then you look at stuff like was it the Bhagavad Gita and all the fucking Indian shit, like the Hindu god stuff, I think there's definitely a possibility that we've gone through many cycles, and like a recent cycle was like shit was totally out of control, like off the wall crazy shit was going on with, like, you know, what we would call, you know, gods or superhumans, like flying around warring with each other, like fucking destroying whole kingdoms and landscapes in the blink of an eye, fucking upending the fucking geology and the topography of the place, like changing the landscape in a matter of hours, minutes, days, you know, depending on how powerful the entity is or what happens. Like, you know, like, it makes sense to me that, like, what, like, the way I look at it is like, now, if you look at the pattern between, like, now, you could be walking through a jungle, and like, if your average guy is like, what, like fucking my height, like 5'11" or whatever, in and around 6 foot, you know, then you have like all of the stuff that is like, you know, energetically, vibrationally, and physically, like, you know, much lower than us, like the insect world and all the like bacteria and all this shit. I just see it as like as above, so below, where it's like, it makes so much sense that there would be stuff that preys upon us the way we prey upon other shit, and that stuff would, from its point of view, see us like a fucking ant or something, like, you know. And it also makes sense why a lot of people would be like, ha, yeah, that's a lot of bollocks, like, because like when you start thinking about that shit, you know, it can give you pause of like, oh god, like, I mean, what if that's true? What if this is it? Like, you start getting scared and fucking paranoid and all this fucking shit. Like, I've never really been like that. I'm more like, you know, I'm just sort of like, oh, what if? Like, you know, like, I don't. When I come across a theory or an idea, I'm like, oh, that sounds like it'd be really cool if that was true, you know. Like, when I hear stuff about gingers being like potentially, you know, the descendants of like Atlanteans, or like giants. We've got giants' blood in us or something, because the giants were red-headed, red-headed and pale with blue eyes and all. Like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, so that's why I was such a freak when I was a young kid. Like, do you know what I mean? That's why like other kids instinctively looked at me and was like, he's a fucking ginger. Like, you know? There's the whole like like that cultural, like, the zeitgeist joke. It was in the fucking South Park and all, the gingers have no souls and shit, like, do you know what I mean? And when you think about it, I mean, like, mythologically, there's some credence to that, isn't there? Like, because, like, didn't they say that, like, angels, fallen angels and stuff, they're not like humans, in a sense that they're not, like, completely autonomous? Like, the reason why they're so jealous of us is because God gave us like genuine free will, where we can do whatever the fuck we want. We're not like locked to the same kind of rules that angels and demons are and stuff, you know. So like, if somebody like me is like genetically like from that kind of lineage where I only have, like, what if the Jews are right? What if I only have half a soul because I'm like descended from like monsters? Paint like, you know, like, a part of me, like, you know, like, if you had, like, irrefutable proof, you know, and then, like, how would you know? Like, how would you know that your supposed evidence is irrefutable? Like, you know, it's like, I don't know if somebody, like, it's not like somebody could do a test in front of me with my blood or something and I would just automatically believe them, you know? I was like, okay, so you put my blood in a vial and it turns blue. That doesn't mean shit to me, like, do you know what I mean? Like, unless you, like, Unless there's like no other way, like it's like because the reason it turns blue is this and this material, and like that means that there's this material in your blood, and if there's this material in your blood, that means that you're one of these and all. Like, it's like, you know, could just be a different breed. Like it's just a fascinating rabbit hole to go down where it's like, what the fuck are human beings? Like, what are we? Are we like? I was about to say, are we created? But like, if you look at, I think this is like, no matter what way you look at it, we were created by something. You know, like, it's just fascinating shit. Like, need to make a bit of grey detail this boombox. Yeah, like the thing that your man, like Chris Gardner was talking to your man about was like in a summary, he was talking about the similar shit on Owen's stream where he's like, the theory that Jesus's millennial reign already happened and we're living in the Dark Ages, because Jesus already like had his golden age millennial reign, and that's why Satan's in control in our timeline, because it's his turn or whatever. And then there's going to come a time where Jesus comes back for everybody or some shit, like, you know. I'm not really into the whole savior thing. I mean, I think that's counterproductive. Like, why would you give people dominion and free will if their only hope is, like, one dude? I don't know, like, that seems like a way to keep up victim mentality, like, you know. Oh, I can't do anything, I just have to wait for Jesus. That sounds like a demon lie. That sounds like a demonic trick to me, in my humble opinion. The mic is a bit roost today. Okay. Painting. Google. I seriously think it'd be fucking really cool though if, like, I think I said this recently enough, like, how fucking awesome would it be? I don't think I said it on stream. I probably did it at one stage, but when I said it recently, I think I said it in the chat. Where, like, how fucking cool would it be if, like, when you die, you just, like, wake up in an armory or, like, or barracks, and you just get handed a flaming sword and a shield, and, like, armor gets put on you with wings and shit, and they're just like, go, 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 go. You're like, what the fuck? It's like Edge of Tomorrow shit, where you're just, like, thrust into this, like, epic cosmic war, and it's just like Michael's flying around murdering loads of them and shit. Like, there's demons everywhere, everything's insane looking. It's like a combination between, like, endless caverns and, like, clouds and, like, fucking seemingly, like, these towers that, like, go, like, up so much that you can't even see the top of them and shit. Like, just this, like, otherworldly landscape, literally, like, do you know what I mean? And you're just like, what the hell? Like, you got people just being like, there's 3 of them over there! Like, and you look, and there's just these things, like, ripping angel wings off dudes, like, getting torn apart, like, what if that, like, oh, that'd be so fucking terrifying if, like, you know, this is all a test so that when you end up in your, like, when you end up in your angel body or some shit, it's like, right now, if you die now, you're like, it's oblivion, like, you know, that, oh man, that'd be so like, so scary. Cause, like, death doesn't scare me, you know what I mean, but the idea of oblivion scares me, cause, like, those are two different things, like, do you know what I mean? Cause, like, death is described as so many different things and all this shit, and people have, like, near-death experiences where they, you know, allegedly go somewhere else for a while and then come back. And it's kind of the same as the meth demon stuff, where, like, you have a lot of the same people saying the same shit, which is like, okay, that's fucking trippy. Because if it's all just, like, your imagination and subconsciousness and shit, like, surely stuff would be more subjective and personalized and varied. But a lot of people see the same fucking shit, which is, like, really fucking interesting. And, like, when you look at it with the whole fucking, like, you know, you were watching, like, Discovery Channel and shit when you're younger. Learning about animals like snakes and stuff that can, like, see in, like, infrared and shit. And like, what if it's just like that? Like, you know, like, we're human, so we can, like, that's how I see it. That's, from what I can tell, that's all it is. It's like, it's literally just frequency ranges and vibration and all this shit, like, you know, and sure, you can describe it as, like, demons and angels and fucking all this stuff. I think it's, like, you could easily describe it as just, frequency patterns, resonance, harmonics, and what was the other one I was thinking of there? Oh shit, it's gone at me. Frequency patterns. There was another word that popped into my mind. It's just, oh, geometry. It's fucking geometry, like, you know. What's happening? Alright, John O'Shea, Pruneru has arrived on Paintingu. Welcome, pruner of things, to Paintingu. Dick Fordu, welcome to Paintingu. Paintingu. I think I was gonna make a light green, give that thing some light green decals, make it kind of funky looking. I just, like, I can't bring myself to, like, I've never been a big reader, you know, just sit down and read something, like, but, like, there's a part of me that really wants to train myself to just sit down and read sometimes, because I have done it, you know, and I do, like, depending on the content, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I read that. Paint! Jesus, you noisy bastard. Paint! Okay, that's a nice green, but it's not bright enough. I'll put more yellow in it. I think I will. It is a nice green though. Paint! It can be a crutch for victims to fall on, but I don't see the savior thing as inherently victim driven. We live in a fallen world, which is our fault. Maybe it's more about overcoming the self, but I don't know. Yeah, like, it's fascinating to me. It's like, okay, did we put ourselves in this position, or are we literally at the, you know... Because think about it, right? Whether you believe in the biblical shit or not, we literally do, as a result of our intellect and awareness, have dominion over most of the realm. Seemingly. Anyway, you know? Like, I don't care how intelligent orcas, dolphins, and chimps, and fucking God knows what else is. We can murder everything. If we wanted to, in a matter of weeks, we could, like, completely... The realm would be a fucking blasted hellscape if we wanted it to be in a matter of days. We could totally do that, you know? It wouldn't last long. It'll all grow back, eventually, you know? We can't actually destroy this place. I'd say there's, like, some entities that have the power to completely annihilate a realm, you know what I mean? Like, but, like... I think if you just think of the fundamental basic concept of just there being something that preys upon us, then you could also extrapolate that out to, like, they farm us, which it kind of looks and feels like we're being farmed in various ways for various things, you know? And then, you know, like, if they're they have dominion over us, you know, and like, apparently that's like a biblical story, like, as well, is like where, you know, in those days there were giants in those days, men of renown and stuff like that. And it's like, apparently, according to some people, there was a whole era where we were essentially like a subjugated race by like, you know, angelic or fallen angels or demonic godlike entities that were huge in comparison. Were varied in shape and size and, like, you know, all this sort of... Apparently there's, you know, not evidence, but, like, loads of fucking reference in multiple cultures to there actually being a race of, like, serpent-like humanoids that were more related to the Nephilim and shit, like. And it just makes sense to me that, like, you know, there could easily be a situation where, like, because that stuff was so extreme and like biblical, literally, in proportion and epicness, and like you know, the consequences of things were like massive. Like, you know, hundreds of thousands of humans could be just like killed at the swipe of a hand by something, you know, just like the way I kind of larp here on the stream, where I'm like, pathetic mortals. Like, you would have like, you'd have merciful godlike entities and then like merciless godlike entities, where it's like, if you guys don't give me your fucking firstborn children, you know, by the next blood moon or some shit, like, I'm going to murder all of you horribly. Like, do you know what I mean? And there would probably be situations like that where that did happen and stuff. And like, apparently, like, it kind of either got to the stage where God was like, okay, here now, this is a bit fucked, or there was like a treaty made or some shit, like, and like, I don't, like, there's a part of me that's like, okay, this is all like celestial cosmic shit, but then there's another part of me that's like, what if it is just all allegory and metaphor for like, way back when there was literally a guy, like a different version of human, like an OG human, an uncorrupted human. What would that mean? Maybe they were a bit taller, smarter, better looking, stuff like that. But maybe it's like being, you know, maybe it's all, a lot of it's like hyperbole, where it's like, you know, they were massive, they were gilded in gold, they had laser beam eye blast powers. Like, that could easily just be like Chinese, like, you know, monkey whispers, or like Chinese, or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just like information gets like muddled and changed as the eras go on, also lied about and manipulated. Like, so what if it was just like, we used to be bigger and better, and a lot of things used to be bigger and better, and it was like, you know, what we would call fantastical magical shit was like commonplace. But like, then a lot of things happen and a lot of power exchanges hands, and then there's like these like treaties and deals made on like a fucking, you know, epic scale for like very, like, kind of just how like our brief human history, as far as we've been told about, and it's been lied about obviously in a lot of ways, but like, there's like these big milestones in human history where it's like, you know, and then we had industry, and then we had our First World War, and then all this stuff. It's like, there was probably shit like that back then, where it was like, this happened, and then like a lot of demons died, and like, you know, power exchanged hands or some shit, and then this happened, and then this guy called Jesus came along and did this, and this, and like, and now because this happened, there's this treaty and stuff. Like that's how I see that. Is like, what if Jesus was a real dude and like performed some sort of ritual or sacrifice, and he was the sacrifice, and as a result, demons aren't allowed that kind of freedom in our realm anymore. You know, that sounds like a very simple, straightforward version of all this to me. Is like, there came a point where the demonic shit was so intense that God granted, you know, someone the authority to be like, all right, no more of that, be gone, you know. And then like, according to this guy that Chris is talking to as well, it's like, that's why they hate us so much. That's why demonic and malevolent entities are so, like, you know, for lack of a better term, hellbent on like that's why Satan literally is the adversary, the enemy, because they're like, they fucking can't stand us, like, because of what we stand for and all this shit. Like, and a lot of it makes sense, like, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of it does make sense. It's fascinating, like, and it's like, it makes total sense why they would manipulate and hide information like that, like, you know. Like, the fact that they openly acknowledge that, like, the Vatican has this, like, super secure library with loads of old shit in it that nobody talks about or is allowed to see. You know? Like, why would somebody do that? Why would you, like... It's like, oh, so this is, like, our written history. This is, like, you know, fucking, you know, primary evidence, like, primary fucking... you know, from the time and all, written by people back then and shit. And it's like, yeah, lock it up, lock it away. You know? It's like, why? Oh, it's for safekeeping. It's like, it's fragile, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it could deteriorate and shit. It's like, you just immediately know, you're like, oh, there's something fucking up there. What do you not want people to know? Like, what way have you twisted all this? Like, it does seem blatantly apparent that, like, what most people consider, you know, Christianity and Catholicism, and maybe even like the Muslim religion and stuff, like, you know, the main religions currently have more or less been like infiltrated by demonic forces, you know. I don't know much about the Islamic faith right now. It seems fairly strong. Like, a lot of people are moving to Islam and shit and becoming Muslim and shit, and there's also a lot of people running back to Jesus. Like, I think that's a, like, you know, cool kind of thing where it's like, you know, oh, like, even if you don't really believe, like, all you have to do is mention Jesus, you know, in a situation like that, and the demons, like, flee like rats. It's like, part of me's like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if it's a good thing to, like, an animal will submit to something that's better than it, like, do you know what I mean? Like, more dangerous, like, out of its control, like, you know. But then we're told to have no fear. Like, most people are going to submit to a higher power out of fear. But, like, I only submit to a higher power that I trust. I've said this before on the stream, that I don't fear the gods, I trust in them. But that's kind of like my relationship with the supernatural is like, I have no frame of reference. I don't know for sure. I haven't experienced this shit. So like, but I have like subtly felt its consequences in my life. And that gives me enough evidence, I suppose you could call it, to at least be like, okay, I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna go with the flow, like, you know. But submitting to it as if it can just control me, and it seems like, I don't know. That seems like it could be a trap. But I am but a retard typing away, aren't we all? I am but a retard wearing a kimono and painting. So sorry to be late. Good day, Desmondu, Stabaru, Irenu, Jadoshayu. Welcome, Sister Corberu. You honor us with your presence. Who knows what our history really is? Yeah, like, that's like, man, that's always where I get to, like, all the cool stuff you hear about, and then the objective, like, logical conclusion that I come to, the most, like, real I can be with myself and the people around me. It's like, who the fuck knows? Everybody's either lying or hiding shit, or like, well, not everybody, just lots of people like Chris and Owen and stuff like that who at least attempt to tell the truth, like, do you know what I mean? Which is why we have so much respect for him and stick in their communities and stuff, is because it's like, well, at least he's not lying, you know, like, at least he's trying to tell the fucking truth, like, you know. And that's what I do. That's what I've been doing before I even ever became a bear or whatever like that, like, you know. It's like, I just got to a point in my life where I was like, fuck this shit, like. And when you start being honest with yourself and the people around you, man, it's like it's almost like Jesus, like, isn't the embodiment of truth and stuff, like, because, like, when you start embodying that behavior in your life, where you're like, right, I'm just gonna be real. I'm just gonna be real as fuck all the time with myself, and as a result, the people in my vicinity. And, like, some people close to you go crazy, and, like, some people fucking, like, turn on you, and fucking, you know, like, it's weird, like, do you know what I mean? And then also, with gaining that perspective, you also look at, like, whether they might not turn on you, and they might not change at all, like, you know, they might even, like, encourage you and shit. But then, the angle you're looking at them from now, you see something you didn't see before, and you're like, like, you know. And, like, but it's also a thing where, like, you don't want to be anti-fragile. You do want to be anti-fragile. You don't want to be in a fragile state where it's like, I can't be around any negative, you know, stuff. You don't want to be like that. Like, you know, don't be weak. You want to be able to, like, ultimately, that fucking, like, you want to be like the flower that can bloom, you know, in the middle of a war or some shit like that. The bombs going off, fucking toxic clouds of chemicals, all this fucking shit, like, toxic chemicals. You want to be that daisy that just, like, ding, out of the muck, like, and doesn't give a fuck what's going on around it, like, do you know what I mean? It just blooms where it's planted, like it says in the Bible, like. But, it can be exceedingly difficult, you know? It can be exceedingly difficult to just, like, pull yourself out of a way of life and shit, like. But it's worth it. It's totally worth it. At least from my experience, anyway. I think of it as a fear that a son has of displeasing his father. He wants to make his father proud and bring his blessing. Yeah, like, I know what that feels like. But then, if you have a father like my father, I got to the stage where I was like, I I look at my father and I'm like, I don't need your blessing, and I don't need you to be proud of me, because like, why would I want someone like that to be proud of me? Why would I care if somebody like that was proud of me or not? But what you said is true. Like, I've felt that when I was younger, where like I just wanted my dad to be proud of me. I just wanted him to look at me and be like, you did, like, I'm proud of you. That, good job. I had that delta side of me, where like my dad always just criticized me in an attempt to make me better, but like from way too young an age. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. Like, he set a really like high standard in a really cold way. So I always just felt like I was never good enough, even though other people in my life was like, you know, really encouraging and telling me that I was gonna grow up to do amazing things and all this stuff. Because I'd walk up to them with one of my doodles and they'd be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" Like, and I was very well spoken, and I was really like, you know, eccentric and imaginative, and I had fuck all fear in lots of ways. The only thing I really feared when I was younger was my father. And then when that went, I was like, I don't give a fuck about anything. Like, when you don't care, there's no fear. Like, there's only fear when you care, you know. You can also care too fucking much. I've suffered from that. I've suffered from caring too much. Or like, you care so much, you're so emotionally invested in the outcome of something where it completely shags everything. You make all the wrong decisions because you're acting out of fear. You're acting out of like, I want this to go right. Like, I can't. If this goes wrong, I'm fucked. Is like such a shit, weak mentality to have. Like, the mentality you want to have is like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna be fine. But then people call you arrogant, you know? You're like, oh my god, you're so fucking cocky. It's like, fuck you. Coward. Hate. A lot of, like, I've said that before about the whole COVID thing and all, like, a lot of that was just like fucking cowardice. Oh no, like, you won't. What are they gonna do? Like, and like, it was hammered home even more. Like, I've said this, I've spoken about this on the stream before. Like, I was so fucking surprised in a sense. Like, you know, I wasn't, but like, I was so surprised in the sense where I was like, really? I'm the only one? Like, fuck me. Like, I don't I'm not like fucking Hercules or some shit. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not this like golden boy that's like, I'm not afraid of the demons. Like, do you know what I mean? But obviously I was, to a degree. Like, I think that's why I held on to my anger so much. Swear to God, I think that's why I held on to my anger so much. I was like, it gives me strength. It gives me power. You know? I get so angry at things that I see as like evil that I'm like, you will not. You know? But like, it started to like suck the life out of me, like, you know, because anger's a sin as well. Anger's a demonic energy too, like, you know. It's a weird one. Anger's a weird one because like anger can be like completely justified, but then again you could argue that like lust is justified because it's like, it makes sense. It's like a rational thing where you're like, oh my god, she's gorgeous, look at her. Like, it's not like that doesn't make sense, you know. But it is something to be like disciplined and like honed and like directed in the right way and all this shit. Just like anger. You know? Like sadness. Like, you're gonna tell me that like somebody crying, like a father's son being killed by a fucking bandit horde, and he's like crying over his corpse, like, you're gonna tell me that he's not justified, you know, in that like mindset or fucking emotion state, whatever. Like, you know, it's totally justified. But it's a weird one when you start talking about like the relationship between the ego and consciousness and all these rules and morality and like ethics and all this fucking shit. Like, it's like, it's totally, it's a dark thing to come to the realization that like evil has a point. Like, a lot of the time, like, you know what I mean? Like, the bad guy, the reason it's so profoundly like interesting and like captivating and tempting in a lot of ways and stuff like that, like, where everybody's like, oh, the bad guy's so cool and stuff, it's like, because he's got a point. Like, a lot of the time he does actually have a point, like, which is like fucked, you know. It's fucked on a level to come to that realization, for that to be in reality, where you're like, you know, some kind of demon is like, they deserve it. They want this. In their heart of hearts, they want this. They want to be low. They want to be, you know, hurt and fucking... They want to be the victim. Like, you know, they want to be fed. They want to be fed slop like a fucking, you know, like a herd, you know? And, like, they have a point. Which is, like, really dark. When you come to that realization where you're like, oh my god. Satan has a point. Which makes sense, because it's like, I think God had that moment. Like, from what the story sounds like and all. It sounds like God had that moment. Where, like, Satan came over and was like, and God was like, yeah. And then Satan went, yeah, well, blah. And God was like, oh, fuck, he's got a point. Okay, alright, you know, like, fucking take your little squad, take your posse and go, you know, fair enough. We'll see how this pans out. Like, that's how it sounds like it went, like, do you know what I mean? Where it was like he was a nitpicking... When you make something that's supposed to be perfect and then it criticizes you, God had to be like, fuck, he's got a point. You know, like... I mean, like, okay, yeah, I'm God, but I'm not... I'm like a benevolent God, like a good, true, beautiful God. So, like, if I am actually a good, true, beautiful God, when something evil makes an argument and he has a point, like, by, like, good, true, beautiful, like, cosmic law, I have to be like, oh, fuck, okay, fair enough, you know, we'll do it this way. You know, like, I can imagine, like, I always imagine God as just a builder with problems, you know, like a a cosmic engineer just making shit, and like a fucking divine alchemist or something, like, and he's just doing stuff and making things, and like, you know, when he makes Adam, he's like, I'm gonna make you the king, you know, and Satan's like, what the fuck? You're gonna do what, you fucking two-faced motherfucker? And God is like, what's your problem? You know, you're like the best at everything. What are you moaning about? Like, it's not fair. Fair? You fucking serious? Like, it just sounds like just like the ultimate argument. Like, you know what I mean? It just sounds like a fucking, oh, okay, all right. Like, we'll see how this plays out. Like, fuck's sake, like, it's so funny to me, like. I don't know why, but like, as I was saying that, like, the image of a clock just came into my mind. I'm fascinated with that shit. How all of this is just like some kind of grand machine, like some kind of grand cosmological, biological machine, like, that's just like moving, and there's just parts, and it's all in sync. Like, when you zoom all the way out, it's probably really simple and beautiful looking, like, do you know what I mean? And then you like zoom all the way in, like, just in the same as in a garden. You look at a garden, you're like, oh my god, it's so pretty, you know? And then you zoom in and it's just like dark, and there's like monsters in there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like look at a garden and it's like, oh my god, it's so green, it's so pretty, so many colors, and like, oh my god, the tree's so big, like, everything's so like, it's like your eyes and your scent, your smell, your eyes, your tactile touch, all that stuff is just like, ooh, yeah, you know, like, but then you zoom in, and like, the stuff that all that grows on, all that color, all that vibrance, all that energy, all that fucking life, comes out of shit. Paint. It comes out of shit. It comes out of dirt. It comes out of like dark, dank, fucking, like, you can't see anything. It's dense. There's like, everything's shoulder to shoulder. There's just like endless tunnels, like, you know, and every different fucking tunnel is like a different size and has a different monster. Like, there's like nests of different monsters. Like, could you imagine living underground? You just like poke through a random part of the fucking dirt. You're like digging and digging and digging, and then you break into an ant cavern, and they're just like, hey motherfucker, this is our house. Like, you know, like, living in the low would be fucking terrifying. Remember that scene out of Peter Jackson's Kong, where like all of those giant bugs and shit, man? That's one of the creepiest fucking things I've ever seen. Like, oh, it'd be terrifying to be pulled apart by some kind of like giant centipede thing, like, do you know what I mean? Just get like impaled horribly and then ripped asunder, like. It's mental, like all the noises they make, and they're all like creepy looking and shit. Like, much rather be assaulted from behind by a tiger. Like, thing just goes for your neck and you're like dead within minutes. Like, you're just paralyzed, and then you're just like, all right, that's the end of me now. Like, and like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I know being eaten alive by anything be fucking horrific, but like, there's levels to this shit. Like. Surrender to what is a better way to look at it than submitting, in my opinion. Going with the flow, basically, versus living in resistance. Sounds weak, but it's actually more powerful. But resistance is power. You know? Go with the flow. Yeah, I thought, like, dude, I completely, like, you know, I completely get what you mean. But resistance is power. So then we're just then we're talking about what are you resisting, you know? And I think that's where you get power, is you resist temptation, and like you resisting your primal desires gives you power. That makes sense, you know? But is the savior complex a primal desire? Like a deep, profound, collective, primal, daddy save me desire? Where to become a truly independent man, you have faith in what will be, but you accept the awareness and responsibility of, like, because think about it, you're like, I'm just gonna go with God's plan, right? Isn't that offloading responsibility? Isn't that being like, well, whatever happens, it's God's will, but he gave you free will. So, like, if he gives you free will, now don't get me wrong, I know there's the argument that the reason he gives you free will is so you can choose his will willingly, you know? It's like a legalistic thing where it's like, I have to give you free will and have faith in you, my creation, to have faith in me. That's very fair. That's like really like wise and fair and logical, you know? Because the satanic thing to do would be like, you know, oh yes, you have free will, you know, but you have one choice. Choose me, you know, like, is like, that's fucked up, like. But allegedly God is like, no, yeah, you can, it's your choice, it's up to you, like, you know. But like, this is my plan, you know, and I made everything, so please choose me, you know, like. You know, because like, the way they describe it and all is like fucking, they don't necessarily describe it a lot of the time that like God is this like forgiving, benevolent force, because it's like, you know, the implication of not going with God's plan is like fucking endless suffering and burning, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's a bit like, okay, hold on a minute, like, that sounds like a false binary fucking marketing ploy there, where it's like, you know, embrace my son Jesus, and you shall all be forgiven your sins and taken into the loving arms of God in an eternal blissful heaven, like, do you know what I mean? And then it's like, or I'll burn you all alive for eternity. It's like, Jesus. like, I think it'd be hilarious to do a skit where like Jesus is just like rocking in a corner somewhere in a cave in a desert, because everyone is saying his name all the time, and he's just like, please make it stop, please make it stop, please make it stop, please make it stop. It's everybody like in passing saying Jesus, praying to Jesus, cursing Jesus, hating on Jesus, loving Jesus, saying things in Jesus' name, and Jesus is just somewhere being like, fuck. Shut the fuck up. like poor Jesus. You know, like, leave the nigga alone, you know. Like, there's an argument for like there's an argument for banning a word from being said, you know. We don't speak Jesus' name here. Why? Because the fucker needs a break. Like, the poor lad needs a break. He's been answering prayers for millennia. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, fucking leave Jesus alone. Pray to fucking Jormungandr or something, like, do you know what I mean? That big ugly snake doesn't give a fuck. Like, it's like how funny would it be if it worked like that, where like all of these divine entities actually do exist, and they all have their different personalities and powers, and like, you know, they're all allocated in the cosmic fabric of the universe and all this shit, like. And if you pray to Jormungandr, it works like this. If you pray to Jesus, it works like this. And like, Jesus is like YouTube. He's like, you know, the biggest brand in like the cosmological realm, where it's like you can't go wrong with Jesus. You know, Jesus is like Black and Decker. You know, you buy a Black and Decker saw, you know you're good. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Jesus is like cult. You know, it's just reliable fucking, you know, craftsmanship. You know, if you're talking spiritual warfare, Jesus is your man. You know, like he's a fucking billboard on the side of a road, like, experiencing demonic possession, call 555, not 666. You know, like, I love that shit, like, you know what I mean, where it's like, okay, let's play it out like it's fucking real, like, you know what I mean, and how would it go, like, you know, you have fucking Jormungandr is just coiled up around the realm, and just sitting there chilling. Nobody prays to me anymore. Sick of it. like how funny would it be if like fucking like you find like the old, nobody prays to the old gods anymore, so they all got jobs. Like, you fucking find like Anubis working in a deli. Like, just like oh fuck. Kong was actually a very cool movie. The game was unremarkable. Oh yeah, I heard the fucking. I seen the get. Most of the movie game translators are shy. One of the best ever movie to game transitions that I've played was X-Men Origins Wolverine. It was a combo of the movie. I think it was better than the movie. I thought X-Men Origins Wolverine was shy. Like, it was so poorly done and cringe and shit, like, and what they did to Deadpool in that movie was just like, what the fuck is this, like? It was such a shit film, like, in so many ways. I suppose it's kind of got that Starship Trooper element to it, or it's so bad it's kind of good. Like, there's parts of it that are fun, you know. I liked, what's the last Kong movie I saw? I think I saw Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm not sure. I don't think I saw that minus Godzilla vs. Kong minus T or something. I don't know what it's called. I do have a weird, like, I have a feeling that there's some like really obscure esoteric gravy in those movies, you know. The whole nuclear narrative and like Godzilla being this big fucking radiated lizard and shit, and Kong being this like savior from like an old world. It's weird. Like, there's like a lot of these like cult mythological, they repeat the old myths again and again and again, like, do you know what I mean? And like, the reason why they're so fucking captivating is because they almost like speak to our like ancestral memory, where like there's a part of us that just like knows this shit. It's weird. I've painted things over the years, and then years later looked at something and I've been like, did I like subconsciously know that shit before? Like, what the fuck? Like, I remember I painted this blue and gold thing when I was doing the sign writing course, and it was just like a bunch of circles and line. It looked like a circuit board. It looked like a motherboard. It was blue and gold, and it was just like, because it was sign writing, I was like, okay, how many like really nice looking circles and like nice clean edges and parallel lines and like flowy abstract like 180-degree turns of the brush, like fucking like these U-bends in a sink, because that's what sign writing is brush control, You know, you want to fucking get like a blade and shit. Like, so I was like, I'll do like circles and parallel lines and all these things. Like, it kind of looked like a circuit board. Like, one of the lads said that it looked like an Egyptian bird or something. But like, that's probably with the blue and the gold, because like a lot of Egyptian shit is blue and gold. Like, you know, and it's like, there's like this subconscious shit that like this like spiritual color theory geometry shit that exists in our minds. Like, you know, like a couple of streams ago, I was like, I don't know, it was like last week or the week before, I mentioned I was listening to that thing where your man goes on about this theory that like Jesus was a fucking pedophile and like this is known and stuff, and that's why the Jews like had him killed and shit. He was this thing called a it begins with L. I can't remember. It's this word it was basically like he was like a shaman, you know, and there's like certain alchemical rituals that like involve children and stuff and all. It was weird. Like apparently the 12 apostles were actually kids and all this shit. Like wild theory. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I don't know like my shit when it comes to religious history and stuff at all. Like, do you know what I mean? But I just like listening to all the different, because you can hear the ring of truth. Do you know what I mean? I want to said that before, that there's like a frequency or a vibration to truth where you just feel something in the center of your brain where you're just kind of like, okay, no, that sounds like there's some credence to that, like, you know. And he was talking about this, the third ventricle, this chamber in your brain, you know, like you've got the two hemispheres, and then there's like this like viscous fluid that surrounds your brain that it sits in, and then there's also a chamber in between the two main hemispheres where there's like these voids, there's these pockets in your brain where all the stuff moves around and like the fluid is allowed to go, like, you know, it's what promotes like blood flow and all this shit. Like, but the third ventricle is like the center point of your brain, and apparently it's like actually cube shaped, which is fucking fascinating if you know about the whole Saturnian stuff and all. Like, it's like, hold on, so we actually have a cube in the inside of our mind, like, you know, big, like a fleshy, like a cube. It's like a chamber, like, do you know what I mean? It's not like a shape. It's not a mass. It's a void. It's a chamber in your mind, in your brain, where like all of this fluid passes through and stuff. And the third ventricle allegedly contains what has been called the water of life, where they used to like smash people's heads open and all to get at this stuff, like, you know. Which is totally believable when you like hear all the mad shit that people used to do, do to each other for all sorts of reasons. You know, I mean, if the Aztecs or the Incas or the fucking Mayans or whatever the fuck, were like, you know, dragging people up a pyramid and painting them blue and then cutting them open like alive, you know, with fucking, and then just like ripping them apart and throwing them down and shit, like. I mean, if one group of humans is doing that stuff, like, what are other groups of humans doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we've done some fucking horrific shit to each other. Like, we do some horrific shit to animals now in the name of science and all this crap, like, you know. But it's undeniably fascinating to see all this shit, where it's like, if you remove, which isn't the right thing to do. You shouldn't be removing morality. I believe there's a reason why we have this innate sense of right and wrong. But the reason why we argue over all of it is because, like, we're all little snowflake individuals that genuinely do have an individual subjective viewpoint of reality, and nobody has your life, and you have no one else's life. It is all a subjective, you know, a subjective and objective, like, individual singular experience, but we share reality. But because we have different views of reality, even though we share a reality, the reality itself becomes subjective and malleable, because you have all these different people doing all these different things, and the more people doing one thing, the more real it becomes. So, like, this idea that you have these different, like, groups, cults, sects, whatever, like, you know, just like gatherings of individuals who then like conform to a singular ideology and then start performing these things, like, it's mental. Like, don't get me wrong, I think you could easily argue that most of the stuff where, like, there's blood sacrifice, killing someone, opening someone up, killing a baby, fucking smashing their head open to get like that water of life stuff, all this adrenochrome shit,
chances are that's pretty much all demonic, because then it would make sense, because it is an entity that is preying upon the human being on like a spiritual and physical level. And then the stuff that like is the opposite of that is the stuff that encourages us to do, us and inspires us to do this shit. You know, it's like making a necklace, making a home, you know, carving something, cooking stuff, making a meal, you know, for your loved ones. There's like a divinity to doing what we've been made to do, you know, and there is a anti-divinity or demonic. So, divinity? What's the opposite of divinity? Perversion? No, like what's anti-divinity? I don't know. Divine, and then what's the other one? There's a word, isn't there? It's not perverted. Divine, forsaken? No. Cursed? No. Divine, and then I don't know. Anyone know what the word I'm looking for? Like anti-divine, mundane. Mundane? I don't know. Isn't mundane just kind of boring? Like mundanity can be necessary, is it? I don't know. I'm outside my realm of grammatical knowledge now. But anyway, let's stick on some slightly more vibrant music and paint some more, shall we?
NASA.
Ah, NASA. How goes it? Making another movie.
We need to shoot.
Because it's Scarlett Johansson and fucking Scarlett Johansson, Woody Harrelson, and
What is my budget?
Fry Moon. I'll fucking fry you all to the moon. Another fucking NASA movie that's hilarious. Channing Tatum. Fucking immoral. Yeah, but that's moral and immoral. So I'm looking for the specific word of like divine. Like what's the opposite of divine? What's Google gonna tell me? Did Google tell you mundane? Yappers, no, mundane is the opposite of divine. Yeah? Serious? Really? I should just assume that Corbear has Googled it. Opposite of opposite of dev, and it's like development, devil, devoted, devaluation, devious, devastating. Oh, it's because I spelled divine wrong. It's D-I-V-I. Well, the first one says mortal. That's interesting. The opposite of divine. It's like, isn't the opposite of mortal immortal? I don't know if, like... Mundane. Dreadful. The opposite of divine can be dreadful. Okay, more similar and opposite words. Mundane. Dreadful. That's gas. I just didn't think it was going to be mundane. What's the meaning of mundane then? Like specifically? Lacking interest or excitement, dull, his mundane, humdrum existence. Of this earthly world rather than a heavenly or spiritual one. No shit. So mundane is of earth. According to the Shinto doctrine, spirits of the dead can act upon the mundane world. It's like a quote from an old Japanese scroll. So mundanity is the opposite of divinity. That's so funny, because, like, in the zeitgeist, mundane isn't seen as... yeah, I agree, dreadful sounds better, but I think it's fascinating that mundane is, like, seen as that, like... That's gas, like. Because when you say divine, or you think divine, you're like, divine! It's like God in heaven, and, like, gold, and feathers and shit, like, do you know what I mean? But, like, mundane, you don't think demonic. You think... like a shitty job in a, like, I suppose that, like, well, when you actually describe it that way, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like, what I think of when I think of mundane is some guy in a city with a shitty job that he, like, finds incredibly boring, but he's only doing it for, like, you know, to just survive, and he doesn't really have a life, you know? Like, that's what I think when I think of mundane, is, like, you know, this, like, almost pointless, you know? Which, well, I suppose when you say it like that, that actually makes loads of sense, because, like, when somebody says, like, oh, that's very mundane, like I said, I'm like, oh, it's like, mundanity is, like, close to pointlessness, you know? It's like, oh, it's very mundane. You could almost not need it, because it's mundane. But, like, pointlessness is almost demonic in itself as well, because if you create something and it has no point, it has no purpose, like, that's, like, something without purpose surely is chaos. Yeah? I mean, like, if you have an entity or an object or, like, a material, like, could you imagine a material in the realm that has no purpose? That'd be interesting. Like, I guarantee you, I feel like I feel confident when I say this, like, but I could almost guarantee that literally everything in the realm has a rhyme and reason to it, like, do you know what I mean? Because that's what I believe. Like, there's a reason for everything, there's a point to everything, everything has a purpose, everything has a place, it's like a giant clock. But, like, then it makes sense, doesn't it, that something without purpose, without point, is evil, or demonic, or immoral. There must be a point to something. But what if the point of something is to be immoral? What if your purpose is to kill? You know, without reason. That's a weird one, isn't it? Like, it's like, so not having a purpose is like demonic. All right, well, my purpose is to kill innocent people wantonly whenever I feel like it. That's my purpose. It's like, okay, so he has a purpose, but it's an evil purpose. So it's not wholly evil, because at least he has a purpose. Like, it's fascinating shit when you just start going into the weeds of all this and being like, what does this shit actually mean, and why? Like that's another thing that a man was saying when he's talking to Chris, is like, most people don't think about, like, the fucking, like, there's a reason these disembodied spirits are in that realm. There's a reason for that. There's a reason they were banished. There's a reason they fell. There's a reason for this. There's a reason for that. And apparently, like, you know, it was all written down at some point or another. Oh! Grow your skeptic. Oh, God. I think I'm burping because I haven't had a sip or stopped talking in about, like, 20 minutes or some shit, like. Mortal, mundane, dreadful are opposites to divine, Google says. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Like, when you Google it and you're like, what the fuck? That's weird. Like, I minored in religion and never forgot that one. Dreadful is better. Mundane is worldly, divine is heavenly. Mundane tasks are boring and boredom is the devil's workshop. Yeah, like, one of my favorite quotes from Warhammer is, fucking, heresy stems from idleness. Brilliant. It's fucking brilliant, like. Yeah, and when you think about it, that's basically what I did for like years. Is like, I didn't think I was, because I was being entertained, but a part of my soul knew the whole time. It's like, you're doing nothing. You're just sitting. You're just existing. You're just playing video games. None of this means anything. Like, you're just sitting there smoking weed, playing video games. This isn't going anywhere. You're not doing anything. Like, you know, I'm like, it's not like I wasn't aware of it, actually. I was actually very aware of it. I think that's what made me depressed, was the fact that I was like, I don't have a purpose, but I know I want one. And I almost know what my purpose is. I keep fucking drawing things. I love drawing. Like why, you know? But the idea of going to art college, like, I remember like briefly trying to go into college. Like, I think I did it twice, where I like tried to do a portfolio course or something, like, and I was just like, this is so shit. Like, the way they try and, like, it just seems like it's the same as the rest of the education system. It's like, it doesn't work. It's designed well, it does work. It works the way they want it to work. It's designed to make you not want to learn. It's designed to put you in a position where the only way you're going to retain this information and like get into a position of power is if you adhere to what has already been written, and kind of thing, where it's like, if you want to be part of the club, especially with art, if you want to be part of the club, you need to do like what everybody else is already doing, you know? It has to be contemporary, it has to be abstract, it has to be this. It's like, it's weird, like, do you know what I mean? They like funnel you. It's like, that's what they do to scientists. That's what they do to like the medical industry, like, you know? This is medicine, this is science. We've already figured everything out. This is geography, you know, we've already mapped it all out. There's no reason for you to like come into this industry or craft with fresh eyes and learn what we know and then apply your own new, like, you know, perspective. It's like, no, don't do that. We have tenure, you know, fucking. It's like, you know, it's like, we are your peers. We all have to accept you into the fold because we are art. We are the artists. We're the experts. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not necessarily like, it isn't like that with martial arts, where it's like, if somebody like with very little training just has a natural capability to, like, you know, pick you up and slam you on your head, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, that's generally like received quite well, you know, in the thing of like, oh, he's a natural, you know. And like, don't get me wrong, there is a sense of that in the art industry, but there's almost an immediate, like, you know, oh, a natural, okay, well, you should do this then, you know. And it's like, you end up with all these guys doing like hyper realism and shit, where it's like, that goes for, it's like, it's artistic capability that's so accurate it's mundane, you know what I mean? It's like I look at hyper realism and like, take a photo, like, fuck off. It's the same with video games like FIFA. Go outside and play football. Why are you playing a video game playing football? If you're gonna play a video game, play Halo. You can't go to distant worlds and shoot aliens like wearing a 9-foot armor with fucking huge like blaster assault rifle things. But you could go out and play football. So why would you play a video game about football? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would you spend 80 hours drawing something that is going to look exactly the same as a photo? So you're not like artistically expressing what you saw. You're trying to match what a machine would do. What a machine can express of reality. You're matching that. You're not like, you know, bringing you forth into something. Like, that's what art is. It's like when I look at something, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do my version of that. Like, that was like one of my original ideas years ago was like, I'm gonna create a company called My Version, or like called Aversion, or like, you know, because you can have an aversion to things, like you don't like it, but something can be a version of something else. All right, so like, everything was going to be my version of something, but I thought My Version was like a stupid name, so I was going to call it Aversion Industries or some shit. Like, I'd just do a different version of fucking everything. everything you could think of, like, you know, everything from like my own version of the X-Men, my own version of like fucking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we have Tactical Turtles. It's like take an idea and then just like change a few parts and expand upon the thing you have now got, you know? Like, I think that's where the Chinese market kind of comes from. It's like, oh, Nike, very good. Oh, we call it Nikkei. We call it Nikkei? It's that really good. Because Nike really good. So make Nikkei really good. You know, it's like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Like, dude, like, sure, the way they do it is kind of like fucked up. Like, where you have, it's like a fake version, you know? But like, I'm literally talking about like taking something and then like altering it and then extrapolating upon that, like, you know, which is essentially what I do, you know. Like, all of my characters are like pretty much versions of like other shit. I mean, the second you look at Gunduck, you're like, it kind of looks like Daffy Duck, it kind of looks like Donald Duck, but it also kind of looks like, you know, something you see in an anime or like a Teen Titan fucking episode or some shit. Like my redhead character, like, you know, I've seen shit that looks like that. He looks very anime, like, but like at the same time, my characters, because of the way I created them, are completely unique, and nobody, you know, nobody has a character like Gunduck. Nobody has a character like fucking, like, maybe similar, you know, because of how I create. Like, that's all creation is like, you take one thing, you take another thing, you mash them together, now you have a third thing, you know. It's all just it's just combos. You're just combining shit. The ability to creatively, you know, do all this shit is essentially just like only limited by your ability to say what if, you know. Like, look at Giga Mouse and the wedding cake. It's like, well, alright, well, what if I did a cake with arms and legs and like the bride and groom are like real on the thing, like, you know. It's like, boom, idea. Like, I'm sure there's something out there that's like similar or some shit, but like all the Demon Realm does is give you a holograph, like a hollow version of something. It's a trick, it's a lie, you know. What real creation is like, it might be from something that's already there, but that's how everything in existence works. It's like, you know, you don't get a sword out of nowhere. You get a sword because it used to be a rock. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you don't get Doom Eternal out of nowhere. You get Doom Eternal because Doom used to be around in the 90s, you know? And like, over time, it changes, it adapts, it gets reborn, it gets remade, it gets broken down, it gets put back together, and like, and you get something new, like, you know? Ugh. I think demons are divine, or of the heavens, inexplicable and not of our understanding. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, yeah. It's all, like, that whole realm is what I would describe as, like, either divine or cosmic. You know? Supernatural, or some shit, like. Like, they are, like, they're all in the same category of, like, you know, supernatural entity thing. And then there's just the discernment of, like, the difference between good ones and bad ones, you know? Because, like, the only thing that makes a demon is that it used to be an angel and now it's fallen, isn't it? It's like, isn't that how it works? It's like, demons are just fallen angels. It's not like, I'm not sure how it works. Like, demons might be another thing that fallen angels made to be like their minions when they fell or some shit, like, you know? Because I've heard that a lot. Apparently there's, like, you know, a whole fucking, it's like, there's a whole hierarchy to this shit. Some of the demons are higher than others, and there's princes and kings and stuff and all, like, you know, and Satan is like the nigga that, like, the OG who runs the whole thing. But there's, like, he is one of 7, isn't he? Yeah. There's 6 other ones that are, like, fairly, like, up there and close to him, but he's, like, the head nigga. And they all represent the 7 deadly sins. Satan is Lucifer's pride. Then there's like, oh, the names are really cool and they're mental, like Balfagon or some shit, and Abaddon, Belfort or some shit. Like there's some mad ones, like, and like one of them, like, you know, they're like Wrath, Gluttony, Sloth, like all this fucking shit. Like, and like I think Sloth got kicked out. The guy, the demon prince that is the embodiment of this sin of sloth, got kicked out of heaven because he was a fence sitter. I thought that was hilarious when I heard this. That he didn't get kicked out of heaven for the same reason that the rest of them got kicked out of heaven. Sloth got kicked out of heaven because he was a little do-nothing bitch. It was like, you know, he didn't take either side. So God was like, well, get the fuck out there. The first thing I thought of was paraplegic. I swear to God. I was watching a YouTube video and it was like listing off all the demons. And I got to Sloth. And it was like demon blah blah blah, and he's like, he got kicked out of heaven because he was neutral. He was like, I'm not taking your side and I'm not taking your side. So God was like, okay, get the fuck out. Which just makes me love God even more. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, there ain't no fence sitting bitches in my realm. Yeah, you're either with me or you're the fuck out. Like, I love that. Like, demons were divine, past tense, my opinion. Yeah, that would make sense too. Then you would just class them like I would class them, like just a supernatural entity. You know, you got your cosmic beings, angels, demons, gods, whatever. Like, you know, like I have a feeling there's more than one god, but I have a feeling the way it works is that they all have their own jurisdiction, and like our god, the reason why our God would turn around and say something like, you will have no other gods before me and blah blah blah, is because that's how it works. Is like, your creations can revere and worship stuff that they weren't created by. And like, what if that's how it works? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, God is an entity that like can only be sustained by reverence from his creations. So like, the more reverence he gets, the more he can create, and the more, you know, perfect stuff he can attempt to create, the more reverence he gets, the more people have faith in him, the more energy he can draw, the more beautiful things he can make. And it's like, there's probably loads of different gods that have, like, you know, created all sorts of like incredibly cosmically beautiful realms and stuff like that, and then there's probably gods who have like done really shit jobs and lost their ability to create and stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what if that's the thing as well, where it's like, you know, the guy at Skyrim is like, I used to be an adventurer like you that like took an arrow in the knee. It's like, what if there's gods out there that's like, oh, I used to be a god like you know, until I ate half of my creation. Like, I don't know what came over me, it just looks so delicious. Like, but then wouldn't that mean that there's like some kind of law that governs gods? You know? Like, is it just turtles all the way down, or like, how does this work? That's the thing. Like, you know, like, that's where when I eventually get to that point, I'm like, okay, I haven't got a fucking clue. Like, no, I don't know. Like, cause like, if there is more than one god, then it would stand to reason that like there's probably a governing force over them, because if there isn't, then they would just arbitrarily like make their own shit. Like, but that doesn't necessarily make it not possible. Like, it could be possible that there is just permanent entities capable of creation, and there's a few of them, and they've always been and they always will be. You know, like, just one though just seems like a bit weird that there's only one, because there's like, I mean, I suppose it would make sense where there's multiples of everything else, but there's only one of him, you know. I suppose you could look at it like that. Like, Modern education is not edifying to creative types. Oh, stop. It's the total opposite. Like, they fucking suck the soul out of you. Like, they completely suck the soul out of you. It's very efficient at making mindless drones that, like, feed prisons and, you know, systems like the medical system and NASA and science and all this fucking stuff. They have endless droves of fucking bellends that are, like, you know, more than willing to just be a cog in a wheel, you know. It's weird. It's a weird state of mind to be in. I'm all about assigning people to a box. That's what we do it naturally, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've assigned all you to a box. You're all my friends. Like, sure, like, you're my beloved Japanites. You know, there you go. There's 2 boxes. Like, comes from Spanish Latin. Mundo means world. Oh. Mundo means world. Interesting. Mundo. Pressed in like clay. Moon. Dough. What if that's why the moon allegedly is a map of our realm? Because it's the mold he used to create the realm. Like, what if the moon came down at one point and, like, created the realm like a stamp in clay, like they say, like, you know? And this one you look. Like, I think that's a fascinating concept, or, like, you know, theory, where, like, people would be like, where are we? This realm is so wide and fascinating. Like, is there 4 corners? Like, you know, what is this place? Like, and the idea that you can look at the moon and go, like, you know, where do we live in this grand universe? And you look at the moon and you go, there, that's where we live. It's like, what? What do you mean do we live there? We live here. Yeah, but, like, there is here. As above, so below. You know, like, it's like some trippy shit, like, do you know what I mean? Where you're like, okay, on a level that makes sense, but, like, I don't know, like, demons are stuck here, so I guess they are mundane after all. But they're not stuck here, are they? They're stuck in the other realm, and, like, the only way they can get here is through us, allegedly. You know? Allegedly, that's why they, like, that's why they're so fucking focused on us, is because, like, we are their only option now to, like, be a part of God's creation, is for them to, like, get us to vacate so they can fucking infiltrate, so they can what's this? Or inhabit.
How do we help our customers?
Help yourself. Get the fuck off my stream. Makes sense. Divine being of heaven and mundane the world or earth. Makes sense since they have been banished here. Paraplegic is sloth. Yeah, no, it's a hilarious one, isn't it? That covers Tim Poop as well. Man, Tim Pool's hilarious. Like, just as a character in the grand script, Tim Pool makes me laugh. The whole, like, he never takes off the beanie. Like, it's like one day he'll take the beanie off, like, and people will just be like, "Oh my god, he's hard looking!" Like, you know, like, it's funny to me, like. It hurts my brain once you start going into infinitum and God's existence. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? It genuinely does feel like one of those things that is, like, so many levels up that your mind starts to go, like, okay, hold on a minute, how would that work? Like, fitting that Lucifer is the pride demon and the whole gay rainbow thing. Yeah, it's really, like, weird and suspiciously confirming how much everything fits into place, isn't it? Like a giant clock. You know, like, you start looking at these things just without an ego and objective, you're like, oh, well, that fits there, you know, like, you know, it's mad. Like, multitasking my work while trying to delve into philosophical gravy is not my forte. Need more coffee. Sip sip. That's hilarious. I think the boom box looks good enough, at least for the moment. I might detail it more later. I'm gonna fix the mouse's teeth, and then I think I'll call it a day. Painting goo 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 goo. Make those big chompers nice and white. So I want to do that fucking cheetah shark thing. Is it just me, or like when you make certain things, like do you ever see those like things on Instagram where it's like they photoshopped a lot of animals to be like really fat and chubby and round and shit, like, and like it's the only time where I'm like something being fat is like better than it normally is. Like there's like a Photoshop it's like really like it's like almost like a perfect circle, and it's like real fat face and like big like furry paws on it and all, like, and it's adorable looking. It's like, it's literally like they're brilliant looking, like, do you know what I mean? It's like the only time where I'm like, okay, yeah, you like they can be fat and like I'll totally be alright with that. Like, you know, like you see a fat human though and you're like, ugh. Like you see a fat furry thing and you're like, aw. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo. Painting goo 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 goo. Painting goo 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 goo.
Paintingu.
Fat spotted sharko. Sharkita. Cheetark. I think Chark is just... Am I the only one that thinks Chark is hilarious? Sharkita just sounds like a fucking ghetto bitch. Like... I swear, like Sharkita sounds like a black bitch from the ghetto. Sharkita sounds like Shaquanda's fucking cousin, like, you know what I mean? Like, Shaquanda's half-sister, Sharkita. Barbecue at work today, can't wait. Ooh, you're making me hungry, you. The first one sounds like some black lady who works at the DMV. Yeah, Shakita! You've reached Shakita on line 1. How can I help you today? Honey? I don't know why I made her fucking country, like, fucking, was she like Georgia or some shit? I don't know, like. Conflict is the main theme in every Paintingu, it seems. Warring animals and inanimate objects. It's been like that since like pretty much the beginning of Paintingu, like where I start putting stuff up just killing each other, like, cause like I love Vox's thing of like conflict is the air we breathe, it is the water in which we swim. I love that, like, cause you're either conflicting with someone else or yourself. You're always conflicting with something, you know. And what, like, you could describe, you know, what we were talking earlier on, is like, you know, resistance is power, you know. So like you must always be in some form of conflict. Like you're in conflict with yourself if you're fasting. You're in conflict with your primal desires, like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think you should always be in conflict. If you're not, like, obviously in a direct, like, if you're not in an actual fight, or if you're not going through something in your life or with a loved one or some shit like that, then you should be in conflict with, like, the devil. Do you know what I mean? Like, every day. You, like, wake up and be like, okay, where am I in the grand cosmological war, you know? And, like, I've started to, like, embody that now, like, you know, because I think Paintingu's given me, like, a more of a personality to apply to my art, which is cool. Because, like, the idea of a character that has been banished from heaven and he's trying to paint his way back in, goes with the whole kind of theme of the bear community of, like, you know, we're all trying to be better people, you know, and we're trying to, like, return our culture to something that we know could be better or good, you know, good, true and beautiful, like, you know. I think it's also hilarious, the idea that like fucking, you know, like, I'm reminding you mortars what beauty and honor is, like, you know what I mean, after getting kicked out of heaven for doing a lewd painting. Like, it's just, I think that the whole thing just makes me laugh, you know, and I know it makes you guys laugh too, but I'd love to flesh it out more. I think Paintingu, I think the lore of Paintingu has to be, like, you know, done, and I think it'd be brilliant. Like, I'll get you guys to help me and all, like, you know, we'll do it, like, chronologically, like, you know, we'll actually, like, like work out and, like, talk through the whole thing of, like, okay, so when did I get banished, why, you know, Monkey King fucking did the painting, blah, blah, like, how long have I been down here in Earthrealm, fucking, when did Stabaroo show up, when did Demon Hunter Bear show up, and all, like, fucking, like, we'll all have, like, a place in the show that is Paintingu, you know, because I think it'd be cool to, like, do that now. So if this stream ever does blow up and there's loads of people who are, like, fans of me and stuff, there'll be, like, the core group, kind of like the way Vox has his, like, vile faces minions, the VFM, or what's the other one, you know, we have the Japanites, you know,
with complete protein,
which fucking hilarious. Like, fucking, I want to do that, like, well, we have a photo of Griff, we have a photo of 2 Acre, we have a photo of Stabaroo, and then we have a photo of, is it Demon Hunter Bear? Like, I'd love to have photos of all of us in, like, either Paintingu T-shirts and bandanas and top knots, or like so, like if I could like get a costume, you know, and then send it to all yous, like, and then like just have pictures of. We should do like a black and white one where we all look like Japanese samurais. Like it'd be fucking brilliant. Like, oh. Anyway, now I'm just like, I do that shit all the time where I just start taking ideas and I'm just like, bleh! And I'm like, I'm gonna write this shit down. I'm so all over the place these days. The last 2 weeks between like going camping and coming back and like trying to get back into the flow and like having a routine and shit. Oh, it's a pain in the hole. Oh! Good idea, skip who? Painting goo-goo. Take a few layers for that chark. Should be nice and yellow. Man, this thing's gonna be hilarious. I can already see how funny this thing is gonna be, like, in my mind. This little fat chark thing's gonna look fucking hilarious. I think this is gonna be another one of those Xenoboon things. Like I have a... I don't know if I fucking even told anyone. Like, fucking... It's on Facebook, though, so... I suppose I might set up another thing on YouTube, but I don't know. The female helped me set up this thing on on Facebook, where it's like this, like, Facebook group thing. And I called it Roach's Realm. I don't know if it has something to do with Etsy, I can't remember. But like, the original idea was this thing called Roach's Roster. Whereas like, it's literally just like a place you can go and see like all of my characters and stuff. And like, there's like little bios on them and shit. Like, I haven't like made it yet. But like, that's the idea, is like, I want to create like a fucking... Because when you see these old artists, like the guys that were involved in some of the like... something like Studio Ghibli, or like some of the old Disney shit, or something like the guy who did oh, what was that? There's an artist that I looked at his work and I was like, oh, I really like his stuff. I can't remember his fucking name now though. But like, I'd love to have a photo of me and then like use Photoshop or whatever, like a photo editor, to like crop in like all of my little like monsters and designs and characters and shit like that, so you have that like, you know, not a vindication, but it's like it's like a tangible like evidence that you are actually like a creator of like a your own things, like a world, like I'm a world builder. Ultimately, that's what I want to do, is like build like whole fucking brands. But obviously you gotta start small when you're doing it my way. Like, you know, like everything I do myself, literally paint and draw everything myself. I have no fucking like digital expertise at all, like, nor do I have most of the equipment needed to do such a thing. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I have a feeling it's not gonna be that long before I start dipping my toe into animation. Hilarious how often I paint stuff just killing each other on the stream. And it's called Sarang. Of course they got, like, anytime they want eyes on something, they put Scarlett Johansson in it. We need everybody to watch this movie. What are we gonna do? Stick that hot bitch in it.
I think we should have gotten Kubrick.
Oh, it's supposed to be a real life thing as well. Oh god. Can only imagine. Is that Jonah Hill I saw? I don't know. Maybe it'd be funny. You never know. Sounds like... Oh, I'm 5 minutes over. Shit. You do have high-res pictures of each canvas. No, not yet. I don't have a fucking... Like, I do have photos, like, you know what I mean? Like, and some of them on the females, like, iPhone and shit are, like, pretty good. Like, she did a scanner one. But yeah, like it's like because of where I live, like the town and where I live, there's no place around here. There's actually loads of like printing shops that are fucking closed, which is really annoying. But apparently there's a place in the next county over, Limerick, that I could go to and bring my paintings to, and they'll be able to scan them, and then I'll be able to do like prints. You know, I haven't been able to do prints like at all since I started all this shit. Like, so if somebody doesn't buy the original, like, it's nothing I can really do. But that's another thing I'm trying to get to as well now, where like I'll come out with a symmetrical, and if you guys like think it's cool or whatever, but you don't want to pay fucking like, you know, nearly $1,000 for the original, you just pay like fucking 50 quid or something like that for a print of it, you know. But that's the logistics of that is annoying, because like I'll have to get all, like, the best thing for me to do efficiently would be to either ring ahead or find exactly where the place is in Limerick and like get all of the stuff that I have, which wouldn't necessarily be possible without the female's car, like, you know, because a lot of them are wood panels and stuff and canvases. But the paper ones I can put in a folder, and I could like get the train there, you know, by foot. So it's been a whole logistical, like, trying to figure out how much it would cost, how many of them I should do, you know, all that stuff. Like, but again, getting there. The amount of like different shit that I've done in just the past year alone is crazy. I've designed logos for bears. I've designed fucking t-shirts. I've created characters. I've started a fucking painting stream. Like, I'm all over the place. I'm fucking all over the place. Like, the rest of this year, I want to like hone it in. I want to like fucking really like, the main 3 things that I want to do every fucking day are work on a symmetrical that I'm working on, work on character design, like the tactical turtle stuff and like my world building and shit, and then do, you know, God willing, like at least 2 hours of painting goo every day as well, like, you know. And it's a lot. It is a lot, but I can do it. You know, I like every so often I get a day where, like, you know, like if I'm getting me workouts in and I'm going to bed on time and stuff like that, like I can do incredibly productive days where like I do a turtle, I do fucking 2 hours of painting goo, and then I spend like a few hours at night before I go to bed doing work on a symmetrical, and like a week goes by and it's like, right, I have a new symmetrical design. I can do loads of stuff with that. I can do stickers, I can do t-shirts, I can do mugs, I can do all this fucking merch shit. And then somebody buys the original for like a lump sum. The stream gets me money from you guys, and people, it gets my stuff out there. People can support me through the stream. Stream's a lot cheaper to support me than actually buying like my art and stuff. And then you have the character shit that also gets turned into merch, and could potentially in the future be like, you know, animated shorts, models, toys, you know, stuff like that. Like, so like I can see where all of my stuff is going, and a lot of the time I'm dealing with the frustration of like just this like monumental task in front of me that I know I have to just slowly, consistently chip away at. Because there's those times where like I want to just like run up the mountain, you know, like there's times where I'm just like, I want to get there now, like, but I have to like rein myself in, be like, right, just like methodically, in a disciplined, you know, adult manner approach this, and just keep at it, like, because as you can tell, like, you know, like I'm a big fucking kid, like, you know, idea, just fucking run with it, like I just caught a ball, like I'm just, what's the Joker thing, like, dog chasing cars, like, like, except I know what I want to do when I get it. like everything that I can think of, like, I'm like, I will eventually have a studio, my own sound system, my own this, my own like animation and all that, where like I can literally just make a fucking 60-second long animated short. I do all the sounds myself, I do all the animation myself, I do all the designs myself. It's all in-house, it's all done by me. That's where I want this to go, like, you know. And then eventually, obviously, like, I'll have to hire people, but that would be a very I can imagine that being a very slow process. I'll only want to bring in people who are like Owen talks about, where he's like, I only want people who are like, they would do this for no money, you know, like they fucking love the shit, like, you know. Because a lot of the time that's exactly what I'm doing, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've painted so many things that nobody has bought, so like a lot of the time I'm literally doing this for nothing, but then the value comes, you know? It's like a delayed reaction kind of thing, like, which is good, because there's far too much instant gratification in life these days, you know? It's good that I have to like wait and put long hours into something, and then sometimes it doesn't even like immediately benefit me. It ends up benefiting me like down the line somewhere, like, you know. So it's good that I have that attitude of like, you know, okay, right, let's do this right, you know. And it's working. It's slow, and it's not big. I'm a tiny thing. I have like, there's only 20 of us, you know, like, but it's fucking working. If there's a printer studio closed nearby, you might crowdfund a studio out of it. If there's a printer studio closed nearby, you might... Well, yeah, man, like when I'm walking past some of these closed down places and all, and I'm like, oh man, if I had the fucking money, like, Jesus, I'd like... Obviously, I'd have to look at it and, like, you know, see if there's anything wrong with it and shit. You don't want to buy something that's going to end up costing you a shitload of money. But yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to buy my own fucking just, like, office or something, and then just, like, throw everything in it and organize it and just, like it's the sort of, like, like I've said this before, that my long-term plan is, like, on my own land, I'd love to have something that is essentially, like, for lack of a better term, like a fucking school, you know? I'd love to have, like, all the stuff that allows me to create what I want to create and love creating and doing. Like, I want to have that on a kind of a large scale that I provide for other people, you know? Like, you can come and, like, learn how to get fit physically, learn about history, like, from an objective standpoint, like, all this shit. I want a library, a studio, a fucking, you know, gym. Like, it's like, I know it sounds mad, but like, that's what, like, I want, like, a big fucking Viking longhouse or some shit, like, on my land or near my land, that, like, I just, people congregate, like a bear meetup. Do you know what I mean? Essentially like a bear meetup where everybody's just, like, chipping in and, like, building upon it. And it's the sort of thing that I'd want to, like, you know, get my kids involved in and be like, this is what we do, like, this is how we keep, like, Irish culture alive, this is how we keep fucking, and I'm not even that big into Irish culture, like, you know, but it's like, this is how we keep the real shit alive. It's like, you have to do it, like, privately, you know, because otherwise the fucking corrupted demonic public gets to it and fucks it up and all, like, you know. It's crazy. It's crazy that we have to do this shit, but it has to be done, like. You're doing great, kid. Crushing day by day, week by week, year by year. Thanks, man. I'm fucking exhausted. You can probably tell. But, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there. I can feel it. There's some days where I'm, like, really fucking excited to, like, put paint to stuff, you know? There's other days where, like, you know, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm so run down and I'm, like, burnt out and shit like that, like, but yeah, don't sleep on fucking intense physical exercise, man. I did that for a long time, and, like, intense physical exercise wakes you the fuck up, you know? Enter the crucible of exercise and emerge a better man. Alright, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I love yous and leave yous. I need to get something to eat, and then I have, like, sunflowers to paint, and symmetrical to work on and all that shit. So, my beloved Japanites, I will bid you adieu. If you enjoy PEINTEINGU, then consider paying for PEINTEINGU. Oh. Glorious Kepu. Link in description. Until next time, I shall return. Same timer, same placer, same high-octane painting energy. Be good, be true, and be beautiful. And I shall see you next time. Sayonara, my beloved Japanites.